Hello, everybody, and welcome. All thanks to LD Mobile. NBL Overtime. It is shoes, plenty to get into. Hashtag NBL Overtime. We're going to talk awards and should we tweak it here in the NBL. Hub. Media reports suggesting that, well, almost every single state of Australia right now is going to host the NBL Hub if in case happens. So we'll get to all that and plenty more. Torrey Craig's doing what he is doing. That's always exciting. Liam Santamaria, Corey Homicide Williams. Hello to you.
What's going on, man?
I need a haircut. That's what's going on. That's for one.
Hey, you and me both.
Corey
doesn't need a haircut.
No, I'll tell you what. Always looking pristine, that dome. Homicide today, no different.
Listen, I got an in-house barber, and it helps when you have that at your disposal.
It does. Liam and I actually got a haircut the last day that we were actually able to in the state of Victoria and Melbourne, and now we're just waiting for Dan Andrews to be able to say, hey, go get a trim, boys. My neck's sore.
I think I know why your neck's sore.
Because of my hair.
Correct me if I'm wrong. A little birdie told me you maybe took a little tumble on your morning jog the other day.
Yeah, I'll tell you this.
You fell while running?
Come on, man. You can't stay on your feet.
I took a tumble underneath the MCG right at Brunton Avenue. I actually thought about trying to, obviously less staff at the MCG, I actually thought about trying to get hold of them because there would be CCTV right there, right? If you know the MCG, it's where the buses drive the players underneath the ground. So I come down and as I, obviously at the end of my 17Ks, I was a little leg weary. And
don't try to say all of that. Don't try to say all of that.
Tell you what, it bloody hurt. But you know what? Like any good runner, I picked myself up and walked home. So we'll worry about that another time. All right, let's get into some news and some developing news, and one that's not a great deal of surprise to, well, in particular, us who have spoken about it and thought it might happen. But the West Australian yesterday reporting, or late last night online, that Miles Plumlee, of course, at the Wildcats in the second half of last season, part of that championship-winning team, has agreed to go back to the Wildcats if and when Bryce Cotton becomes naturalised an Australian citizen, of course. So that third import slot, we've spoken about it, or third import. I'm going to start with you, Homicide, because you said this is the 100% the way it should go. You've been confident that Bryce will get the little tick and become an Australian. This is good news for the Wildcats and really for the league.
I mean, this is fantastic news, okay? You have an opportunity to bring back the center who was incredible game 3. Let me tell you why I say this. Game 1, Andrew Bogut gave him the business. In the grand finals is what I'm talking about. Game 2, Andrew Bogut gave him the business. Game 3, the stats show you in all NBL grand finals, whoever wins game 3, 100% of the time goes on to win the grand final. Miles Plumlee showed up game 3, and they win. 13.7 rebounds is what he had. For him to come back is huge. Bryce Cotton getting naturalized, that's just incredible in itself because the guy's in his prime, and that just puts him in a great position to line up to try to make a three-peat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like you say, Cam, it's no surprise. This is what we expect. We knew that Plumley was still in the country. Shout out to Craig O'Donoghue in Perth for the report. But yeah, I mean, he was the guy that kind of brought that team together to become the championship team they were last season. They were in a bad place defensively with Dario Hunt and before they made that change. And it just was the piece to the puzzle that made all that work at that end of the floor, which is, of course, so crucial when you're playing in playoff basketball and so crucial to that team. And, he's hanging out there, having a good time in the Gold Coast, chilling out, happy man in the sunshine, and if and when they can get it done. But that's the other thing. I mean, it's not a fait accompli. The extra time is helpful, with the league being pushed back. But these are literally just wait it out type situations to get this paperwork done. And it's not done yet.
The extra time helps. Also, the very fact is that he's played there before, knows the system, and they're fairly comfortable. And this is probably the next question, which I think was raised in the article as well. Like, are there rules and regulations to stop him from training for Perth? Like right
of course
now,
not. Of course there's no rules and regulations. He could be a practice player all year until it's time to activate him.
Currently, there is COVID.
He doesn't have to go anywhere. Listen, he will be in a uniform this year. Mm-hmm. He will be a part. Red Army, cheer him on again. There's no way you have him in the country and him not be a part of the championship winning team that he helped play a big part in last season. So time is on their side. This thing is starting January. Come on, man. Even if it goes to February, March, he's comfortable where he's at. He doesn't need to work anywhere else. He doesn't need to go anywhere else. All he has to do is practice in WA with the team. So when it's time to activate him, he's ready to go.
I agree. As I was going to say, there are some COVID protocols around some particular clubs and states and all the rest of it. They work through that. You would have to quarantine. But as you touched on, Corey, the fact is too, because he is comfortable, it just has to get to that point. How many games do you have to play to qualify for finals, Liam?
7.
7? That naturalize the papers just have to come through before there's 7 games left in the regular season. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all, because it's not an import slot they're worried about.
But you're right, Cam. There are rules currently in place that say only contracted players can be training with your team right now. And so, like right now, for instance, if he was in WA, he couldn't be on the practice court with that team. That's not going to be in place the whole season.
No, it's not.
I mean, we expect that things will get under control and those restrictions will be changed. And, you know, you can have guys that are not contracted yet in the practice facility. And when that time comes, he'll be there, no doubt. And they'll be looking the goods once again.
I did say off the top too, it's great for the rest of the league. I think I was speaking for us. Like as neutral fans, we love watching the really good players in the league. For the other opposition clubs, not as great, and probably their fans as well, because they only just get stronger. And you know what? Who knows? In 12 months' time, he might marry the Australian girl. Apologies for not knowing her name, and then he gets naturalised, and then it's rolled in another import, I guess. Just joking. Opposition team.
Well, they are incredible at being able to get that done for sure. But I spoke about the paperwork. Corey's certain that it's going to get done. But actually, there is no certainty about this type of situation. We saw a report from Karcher from Sportando a month ago saying that the paperwork is imminent. Well, do you have a direct line to the passport control at the government? Like nobody, you don't get updates in this process, is my understanding. You just have to sit and wait. And when the time, now he's been waiting the period of time that usually it gets done by. But as we know, this year has changed a lot of those timelines. So we hope, Perth fans hope.
Yeah.
A lot of people hope that it gets done. We can see him in the green and gold and all that. But there is no certainty that it will be ticked off in time.
That did cross my mind. Like, is this a media narrative? Is this a basketball media narrative? Because we want it to happen, of course. There's that linkage with Tokyo 2021 now with the Boomers. And so we're just pushing it so much that it's become a thing. I know, Corey, you love to speak things into existence. And it may well just happen tomorrow that he wakes up and he's got a phone call. And that's, from what I believe, and don't quote me on this, but that's essentially how it happens for majority of people, professional athlete or not. But the thing, that's what I did cross my mind. Have we just spoken this thing into existence where we expect it to happen? Because no one really knows.
A lot of times you may see me hashtag on my socials, friends of the program. Let me explain to you in depth what the term means. It's like politics. I may have to reach out to a friend of mine to help make a play happen for me. How big is this country? 22, 23 million, right? Okay. Red Army's the New England Patriots of basketball here. They win, okay? How big is the Red Army? Huge. One of the biggest fan bases in the country. Okay. What are the odds of them having people in high places to ensure this thing occurs? Friends of the program. This thing will get pushed through. Shout out to friends of the program.
I hear you. And look, I know how the world works. I understand this. But one thing I will say, though, what an incredibly good situation they have where Miles Plumlee is just going to be like, yeah, cool. I'll wait. Can I get a guarantee? No. Sorry, man. There's no guarantee. We'll just see how it plays out. No worries. I'll be here.
But I've got to say this, and you're right, but this is what the Perth Wildcats do, and it comes from the very top all the way through. And this is why it's no coincidence and no fluke. They've been in all these finals since, the break of dawn. We continue to talk about them each and every year. At different times we've questioned. We've had some skepticism around a couple of their roster or lineup changes or whatever it might be. But essentially, while this has been a little bit of luck, so much of it is by design because they are continually able to attract great basketballers, great people. And when they go in this even if Miles Plumlee does not play this year, there will be interesting at the centre. But without Andrew Bogut, as we've touched on, the centre position might be a tad different into NBL 21. They would still be very, very confident about having a huge NBL season based on what they've been able to control. And right now, the controllables is that they've put together a good roster. Now, a little bit of luck, but also the fact that they're such an attractive proposition to play, which got, obviously, Plumley keen to play for them last year, is the reason they find themselves where, quite possibly, they are today.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But, when you do break it down, though, and you end up with that situation where they're like, okay, so don't sign with Southeast Melbourne. Don't sign with Melbourne. Any of those teams that need an import center, just sit and wait for us. Are you cool with that? And he is. That's incredible. And you tip your hat to, like you say, to the organization, to putting everything in place to be able to have things like that happen.
Now, I got to say that I have no idea what Miles Plumlee's been up to in the last 48 or so hours, but on the Gold Coast, probably getting a little sun, relaxing, maybe a margarita by the pool. Dare to say he's probably had a better 24 hours than his brother, who, of course, is a huge part of that Denver Nuggets team, who are going toe-to-toe with the Los Angeles Lakers. And obviously, the film room, I'm going to start with you, Liam, being the analyst here. The film room probably wasn't kind to the other M. Plumlee after they went 2-0 down after Anthony Davis hits the game winner.
Yeah, no, it wasn't ideal. It wasn't ideal. You see, we've all seen the alternate angle from the sideline, the conversation that happened between Mason and Jeremy Grant. Okay, they were going to switch on the screen, but, there was no screen in the end. There was just at that point, you just make a decision yourself and you stay with your guy. I will say, I don't know if Jeremy Grant gets off scot-free in that situation.
Shouldn't.
Like, you've made that communication. The communication needs to continue at that point. No screen.
Oh, he's kicked the microphone out. That's how excited he gets for these type of situations. Because, I agree. I agree. Do you think, though, Homicide, before we get to Torrey Craig and your thoughts on this series, do you think that those two were not actually discussing the screen? They were discussing the fact that their brothers have both played in the NBL. Do you think there's any chance they were talking about the career down under of their bros?
Look, the way I saw that play, he should have locked and trailed. There was no screen. For that split second, he hesitated and had a brain fart. He then tried to tell Grant, who was not even looking at him, hop out. It's too late. And it was still a contested shot. But if he was active and on point defensively, that shot wouldn't even have been had a chance. He would have denied it. It wouldn't have been open.
You've seen the other footage, though, right, Corey, where it clearly shows that they have set in place a plan between the two of them that they're going to
see that.
Okay, so you see that Jeremy Grant calls Plumlee, and they have a conversation that is pretty clearly, we're going to switch this screen between LeBron and AD. Now, we all know the screen didn't happen, but having just had that communication needs to continue from mine through the play, where Jeremy Grant maintains some vision and tells him, hey, no screen, stay with.
But if there's no screen, what are we communicating? We said we're going to switch the screen. There was no screen. So, come on, man. There's no way.
No, I feel you. They're both at fault. Plumlee's way more at fault. Just stay with your man in that situation. Michael Malone's a little at fault alone as well, just quietly. Like, let's have Torrey Craig in the game. Well, for those possessions.
Let's get to Torrey Craig. Firstly, do you want to do that sweet little gag I just made about talking about the bros in the NBL? You want to give me some love, Liam?
I enjoyed it.
Okay, good. Let's get to Torrey Craig because it is a cool story, of course. A man, in the NBL, Cairns, and the Bullets, and then you were there. You were there in Vegas, and now it's led to him going toe-to-toe with LeBron James in a Western Conference Finals. You tell us your thoughts. We'll start with you, Liam, because you were there and you put that nice photo. I think it was you the other day of you and Torrey sitting in the bleachers in Vegas.
So cool to see him out there and to see what he's done with his career and playing key minutes in the finals. He played 34 minutes, I think, of Game 7 in the opening round, and 20 minutes of Game 7 in the last round against the Clippers. And he's just done a tremendous job in working his way to that point. But that was a really, really cool experience in Vegas a couple of years ago as he was achieving that dream. And we've been covering those guys, right? Like NBL guys, imports and Aussies, they have that opportunity. They work their way into an opportunity to get there. And now it's like, okay, you're going to hit the floor. Let's see what you do with it. And he comes out in his first game there and goes berserk. And so he gets more and more opportunity. And day by day, you could feel that he was getting closer to that deal. And it was a really, really fun thing to cover, and a great dude as well. Like anyone who's ever played with Torrey Craig or against him would tell you that. But part of the thing that I really love about it is, we're all guys covering the NBL, is he developed his game here to become an NBA level player. Like James Ennis, for example, when he came over, or Jordan McCracken, those guys are drafted. They come in here once. It's great. We love those guys. One season, but they were always going back there. Whereas with Torrey Craig, he developed his game here under Aaron Fern and Andre Lamanis to get to the point where he was that level of a player, put in all the hard work, and he's reaping the benefits. And we should really hold him up and celebrate him as an example of what you can do through playing in this league.
Yeah, I agree. I was here, I think my first season, having an opportunity to commentate. He was with Cairns, and Fern had him coming off the bench. And I think he was underutilized coming off the bench, being a huge player for that team. But it's just great to see when guys get the opportunity, they maximize it. A lot of guys get opportunity, man. We all get opportunities. It's what you do when you get it. And that's the difference maker. And for him, it's just great to see. I had a chance to catch up with him in Denver. I used to live in Denver. Actually, he came through to my daughter's Sweet 16, and we kicked it and we chopped it up. And it's just great to see him take full advantage and shine the way he's shining with the Denver Nuggets.
Who's the next person, Homicide? Who's the next person we can see, either import or Aussie, who could go and make a real bit of damage or make a real influence in the NBA, do you think? Anyone stick out for you?
I mean, for me, there's two names. Will Magnay and Deng Adele. Those are my top two names. That's it. I don't need to go into any more detail. Deng Adele is going to lead the league in scoring alongside Bryce Cotton and Casper, right? Those are going to be the top three league leaders in scoring. And I think he is going to play at a whole nother level because of, one, the opportunity to play under Gorgon, to get another opportunity to get back to the show. And the fact that the front office has Brian Colangelo in it every day is even that much more motivation to get to the big show.
Just on that, Liam, before you go, perfectly said, Homicide. The thing with Deng Adele is this is an opportunity which he's never had before, because he's the man. He's going to walk into the gym. He's played in good teams before. He's the man. So for them, like when we commentate games, hopefully when the NBL season starts, in that fourth quarter of Hawks games, we're going to be looking to Deng Adele to stand up and deliver a knockout blow. I don't think that's big for his career for obvious reasons.
I'm going to give you three other names.
Oh, hello.
I like all those names. Those names are great, but let's talk about LaMelo Ball, RJ Hampton, and Didi Louzada as well, who I think he's going to come back this season, is my understanding, and he's going to be unbelievable for the Kings this year, is my impression. And I think he's going to have a really good NBA career ahead of him. So we talk, man, those guys are great names as far as Aussies. And Torrey Craig was about to become an Aussie, unbelievably enough, before he got that opportunity with the Nuggets. But those three, let's not forget, they're going to be guys that have come through the NBL, helped develop their game through this process, and go on to really good things. And before we move on, though, can I just flag, Aaron Fern gets a little hate about bringing Torrey Craig off the bench. And that's cool, that's fine, but he also deserves a bit of love for finding Torrey Craig in the first place. out of USC upstate, and an undrafted guy that wasn't getting a lot of buzz, and for helping to teach him the game. Those 2 years under Fern were big time. A defensive, like a really smart defensive coach. And that's where Torrey Craig has really made his money, as being a guy who can come in and guard multiple positions. Now, not to take anything away from Torrey and not everything he brings to the table himself, but Fern deserves a lot of love for finding him and helping develop him in the first place.
It's a hindsight thing, obviously, when we sit and watch Torrey Craig do what he does, but they made a grand final, right, with Torrey Craig coming off the bench. So hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we can twist and turn, but he wasn't the player then that he is now. As you touched on, he was working his way and developing his game. It wasn't to use your examples, a Jordan McRae situation or a James Ennis where he was just like the stud. He was working towards it. So while I see the discussion, they had a pretty good year, the Cairns Taipans, and it took a 15-foot fadeaway from Ibekwe to steal a championship from them over in New Zealand. All right. Homicide. Hubs. You like the idea? It continues. Last week I see in articles, one in Victoria said the Melbourne were leading to possibly have a hub. Exact same day. New South Wales, Sydney paper said the exact same thing. Where would you, if a hub does have to happen, where would you like to see it? Where do you think the best place is for it?
South Australia.
Okay.
They have two NBL venues.
Mm-hmm.
We know Titanium was the home of the 36ers for many years, and they moved to, I think it's the Convention Center or
Entertainment Center.
Entertainment Center. Either way, those are two legitimate venues. And I think that'll be a perfect place for teams to play.
As a former pro, in a hub, of course, there's less off-court distractions. There's no travel, even if it's only a mini hub for a short start of the year. But then you're living on top of each other with not just teammates but also opponents. You're seeing them at breakfast or what. Would you have liked it? Like, do you think it's a good thing? Is it going to be something the players would enjoy?
Yeah, I do. Think about it. It's like how the preseason blitz probably was or is. You know, it brings it back to like basketball at its purest. You know, you got to come with it. There's no fans to hype you up, or limited fans, or not your fans if you're a team that's not outside of the 36ers. You know what I mean? But I think it would be great because mentally you got to get yourself going. You're relying on your team. That's it.
Corey, I saw you a little while ago talking about how some players in that environment, on the practice court or in that sort of environment without a whole bunch of fans, kind of play a bit better. We saw that with, we saw some guys have in the hub, in the bubble, right? Like
unbelievable game.
TJ Warren, for example.
What? If he's a free agent, he is about to get paid.
Right. Who do you think would be that kind of player in the NBL, who in that kind of like bubble or hub type setup would go off?
Man, I don't know. You caught me off guard with that question. I think a lot of players will step up because a lot of players really get nervous. That's what separates a lot of the elite from the real good players. So I think the league will be that much more difficult. It would be leveled up even higher because of a hub.
Like, do you think it would be fair to say you would not have been necessarily that kind of player? I'm not saying you would have played badly in that situation, but you got energy from the atmosphere and the environment at home with your home fans, but in particular on the road. Like, you enjoyed the process of shutting them up and keeping that crowd quiet. Whereas,
I would have been busting ass regardless of what the situation was.
I hear you.
I'm going at the guy's head in front of me. The crowd is a bonus, but I'm going at the guy's head in front of me.
Yeah.
And actually, that would be more of an advantage because you take the crowd out, now it's just what you got in you.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys are heroes where they need the crowd to be hyped. Come on, how many times have we seen Perth Wildcats win games because of the unbelievable Red Army? You take that out, are you really built like that? Or you really need that extra six man to give you the courage and the confidence. So that's when you really see who has what in them. What are you made of?
Hashtag NBL Overtime, Hub or Hub Life. If it's probable or possible, if it's going to happen, let us know where you think it should be held. Of course, the Snag Pit, more great photos over the course of the week as well, over in Cairns or up in Cairns. It looks brilliant. Melbourne continually getting pushed, Victorian governments. Of course, the NBL pitching to governments around the country right now. All right, yes or no? I'm bringing it back.
Oh, okay.
Little mini version. Start with you, Liam.
Hit me.
Yes or no? Is there another club in the NBL right now that still believe they're in the running for Cam Oliver?
No.
Dida Lozada, I'm going to give you another chance here, Homicide. Dida Lozada, all NBL first team next year?
No.
I'm going to ask the exact same question of you, Liam, around Donald Sloan.
No.
How about second team?
Yes.
All right. If Melbourne United, and of course we've still got to wait with their imports, Casey Prather, obviously by mutual decision a couple of weeks ago, so they need 2 imports. But for Melbourne, the way they're structuring up, United, will CG43 need to have an MVP caliber year for them to win a championship? Homicide, yes or no?
100%.
I know it's back for the first time in a little while, so 100% is not an exact answer, but I'll let you go.
Have an MVP caliber season.
I was writing this in my mind when I took that tumble last week, so we've only got 2 weeks to kickstart us, but we're going to get into it. It's going to be back as we fly in towards, hopefully, it goes quickly, the middle of January, get into NBL 21. Any last thoughts, Liam Santamaria?
No, mate. Stay on your feet.
I'll try to. Homicide, anything for us?
I want to give a shout out not only to Ben Simmons for winning the all NBA team, but for the bonus that got kicked in, $26 million.
Really?
What? Is it 26 million the bonus?
Yo, let me hold something, Ben. Shout out to you. Let me hold something.
Wow.
It's amazing. Nuts. Steve maybe goes back to
Hashtag incredible.
Wow, this is what I'm talking about awards. That stuff's got to be on point.
Well, yes or no? Is there a player in the NBL that has a $26 million bonus based on a Defensive Player of the Year award, Liam?
No. No, but hey, I'm
know,
having a discussion about the setup of the
True.
all-league teams as well. We can talk about that next week.
True. Plenty to get into next week. NBL Rewind. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Adam Gibson goes one-on-one as well. NBL podcast tomorrow. Isolation conversation. Heaps to get into over the course of the week. At NBL, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, NBL TV, wherever you get your stuff from. Make sure you get there. Hashtag NBL Overtime to say g'day to us. We'll see you next week.
Peace.